Welcome to episode 133 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Remember, you could find this podcast on any audio app that you could possibly find and on YouTube. Here for your viewing and listening pleasure every Tuesday morning, bright and early. But if you didn't see it Tuesday morning, just check later in the week, right, just in case anything happened. Now, I want to say that I reached the point where I don't even post the podcast again. Sometimes I post the podcast Tuesday, quite Friday, and now do the post until I can't handle the social media thing again, you know. So I'm looking for somebody to do the social media for me. And up comes premier photographer Cassius Rochford. I tell Cassius I don't want no problems with these people. I don't want no worries. I don't want no issues. And Cassius decided to cut up a clip of me talking about Madara. And then there's all of a sudden thing all over the place that I can't control. So I want to send Cassius a message on behalf of myself from the great Lord Commander. Man trying to put me in problems.
Give me name, I is the commander begging the public, please, oh Lord. Give me name, I is Mr. Action begging the public, please. To be a public intestine is bad. For me to break a warrant, it must be hard. Why? Anywhere I go, it is just the same.
All way I go, I could hear them calling my name.
Hello, commander. Where you say? How she going?
You okay?
Nice. Right away. And so they calling up my name for the whole damn day. I just want to date every day. It's the same old tune in my head. And it's a thing I don't like at all.
Anyway, I pass for my name to call.
You could believe it or not, but this is certainty. It's a have a thing I hate like publicity. And the thing what eats me and get me angry. They only calling me unnecessary. Mr. Action, where you say? How she going? You okay? Nice. Right away, a man can walk in peace on the damn highway. Well, I just wonder if the old job on in me a real hole, so they only bothering me. Sometimes I hear them, but I wouldn't answer at all. Well, if the mom upon him, they will call and bully. But they hold the government and must I get hold. I don't know how me upon him in catch a line in cold. These people, they really got good constitution. I know how some of them got consumption with the commander. Where you say? How she going? You okay?
Nice.
Right away, man, I fed up with them on the damn highway. If my girl named Mabel bunks on a tray, in walking forward, looking back and calling me one day, $8.08 she got to pay for all the woman watermelon she threw away. Another white woman was driving some kind of boat. In looking back and calling me, she bet the major road. Any part of the world, the commander go. Man, I don't know why the people just call me so. Mr. Action, where you say? How she going? You okay? Nice. And how are you today? But I go see who they go call when I gone away.
The great Lord Commander. So thank you to Cassius, who's my new social media manager, my PR manager. So when the excrement hit the ventilator, please call Cassius. And I just want to say that full disclosure and so on, Madara is still cussing. But people don't change overnight. Changes take time, you know what I mean? Change gonna come one day is what the song say, you know. They say changes come overnight. It takes some time, you know what I mean? And I just want it to be known as well, right? that I avoided playing that 1 week. Cassius chained me up. I played in the week after. People asking me now if I interviewing Matara. I was like, no, I didn't interview Madara. It's just a little clip I put together. You know what I mean? I didn't interview anybody. I had to clarify that. And I just want it to be known for everybody that the best part of that Madara clip didn't play because I am prudent and I do the right thing when the right thing needs to be done. But if you feel like you want to see the whole thing, just message me and I'll send you the whole thing. You know what I mean? But the best part of the Madeira clip didn't play. Anyway, on to serious matters this week, episode 133. I remember being on episode 33, funny enough, right? And I used to be bothered because I used to feel like, boy, you're doing this every week and you can't come out the play with numbers at all. I want you to know that I feel like I ride there again. I feel like I come in here every week and record. And forget the 100, I'm still in the 33. I feeling like I in the play with numbers again. Now, let's see what happened in the lotto. What's the lotto situation? Will they play lotto and thing? Sometimes I don't man like to take a little chuck, but boy, I don't feel I could win the lotto at all. Something, and if you're going and buy these tickets and thing, feeling you ain't going to win. But the lotto doesn't give me much hope. But I think last thing I see was 21 million, must be about 25 million by now. So I gotta buy a couple of $100 in quick pick and hope for the best. So if the next week you ain't here, no podcast at all. Forget about it. It ain't coming back. Now it's a wrap for this podcast. You know what I mean? But I don't think I have the a big part of the message in this podcast or the theme throughout the podcast is a certain amount of hope and inspiration, right? And my problem is that I play in the lotto with no hope of winning. Sometimes I don't even feel like to check back the ticket. First, I know I lost. And it's worse since they implement this Powerball thing. Because now it take away the little excitement of peeping through my numbers and see if... As I hear the Powerball is 6, I watch my quick pick. And you have one thing with 6 and the numbers off already. I find it take away some of the excitement, right? And it made the probability much harder or the odds much slimmer to win the lotto by identifying a Powerball, right? Just so that we understand what they're doing there. It's Powerball, they call it, whatever they call this, the individual have a number you have to get other than the other 5 numbers. That make the probability high. But anyway. Big things in the country. New president. And let me tell you something, man. When you see them white people and them changing a guard and this one dead and Paul, what you name, Paul or Philip? Them dead and they're appointing the next one. Who in charge now over there? When they make the thing, them just take over all the TV station for the day. All the people who like to play like they're not into that neither, them just be commenting on it on Facebook and Twitter and thing. So if it is them could do all that for them enslavers, I want to do that as the first topic in the podcast. All I am vexed. All I am mind if I take some time to talk about the president being sworn in. 7th president. And I want to say that according to in her speech she said too, 7 is a lucky number. I ain't lucky with the lotto. But she knows 7 is a lucky number. So if you're a man is play lotto and you only know how things this line up with the playway and them kind of thing, you know what I mean? When the murders is the highest in the country and dead man play 3 times back to back in the playway. If I was you, I might have put the Powerball, you know what I mean? But 7 is the lucky number for the week. And she was good enough to acknowledge that too. She said she'd always like number 7. I like Chistine Kangaloo a lot, and I want to put it out there one time. She's my favorite president. She cannot do no wrong. I don't care what she do. One day on the job, and I have her down as eclipsing all the other 6 that came before. The greatest president in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And anybody who is listening here know that I saying so because her speech was built around 2 calypso. You cannot be that. You cannot be that. The woman built the speech around 2 calypso. To add to that, she asked the Southerners choir to come and perform the 2 calypsos for her. You cannot be that. Southerners choir is a choir. I don't have a connection with that. I don't play 2-3 songs for Southerners choir before. Rest in peace to Joyce Caesar. Added to that, my father was one of the people who was playing, if you listen to the 2 tracks on the inauguration while he was playing, or the 2 performances, is he playing guitar? Is he guitar here and chicken? He was there playing for it. So listen, my father is a man I admire. That's my partner, my roaming beating stick, my boss, my co-worker, my business partner, everything. They say sometimes, all these things go, but I should never try to make Bible quotes. Is this in the Bible? If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you give him bacon shack, you feed him for a life. Something like that, right? And I want to say that my father is a man, give me fish and teach me how to fish. And after I could catch my own fish, he still give me fish. Is the best arrangement I ever had in my life. You know what I mean? And he was part of the swearing in a Christian. So how me ain't gonna love president number 7? You know what I mean? And why 7 in the playway? 7 in the playway is... what the hell is 7? I thought 7 was belly. 7 is what, hog? All right, I don't play with reference. Sorry about that, you know what I mean? But the reality is that 7 is the best president that we ever had in the country. And I like the way she put together a speech. Of course, you know I'm going to play those 2 songs before we get out of here. But the way she put together her speech was filled me with hope and inspiration. And one of the things I say about politicians in particular, but leaders in general, is that there's only so much you could do as a leader or as a politician. You're working in a system. You can't go there overnight and change everything. Darren didn't change overnight, so who's we to change overnight? A whole country. Changes take time. Like home here. I try my best to, if Stacey tell me, boy, here what? I don't like where you just be leaving all the ways and anything. It might take me years to change that. Even decades maybe, you know what I mean? I hope she's listening. Sometimes it takes a long, long time. 3 scores plus 10 to change the week, start to make up your bed and them kind of thing in the morning and don't leave the bed all out every time I leave it home. Sometimes it takes time to change. We are that graceful people, you know what I mean? But one of the main things that leaders should do, especially leaders of large groups or very important positions like the president, is to inspire, give people hope, give people something to look forward to, give people some sense of something that they could be prideful about. And I think that in her first speech, she did so much to inspire and create hope and pride. I like it a lot. First, you take 2 calypso and make it part 18, right? Of course, I'm going to talk about that. But also the way she put together her speech, the tone of the speech and so on. I find it was very personal and personable. She took a long time, or she took time to thank Paula May Weeks, who was the first woman to be president, and she now being the second. And thanked her for handing over, for being very kind to her and her husband, she said. And then she went through to say that, listen, everything I do or plan to do, or everything I kind of on the back, so it can only be done because of the 6 people who came before me. And she went on to mention the 6 people by name, the 6 presidents before, which I will probably struggle to do. So let me go to the Express to make sure I have these 6 people named right. Because, man, you know me. I just have some problems with these kind of thing. So she went on to thank Ellis Clark, Noor Hassan Ali, Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson, George Maxwell Richards, Anthony Carmona, and Paula May Weeks. So I think that's the 6 I called it, right? And just remember, I don't want to knock nobody, right? Because the idea behind this is to shine a light on Chistine Kangaloo and what she's come and done in her first move as president. But I really remember Carmona coming and talk the first day and saying, the powers that I have that I don't have, and it have no power in this place because current gone. And you remember that speech about powers and them kind of thing? It was an odd kind of speech. It stirred up a lot, right? It was in our recent memory, Carmona's inauguration speech would have been one that stood out more than any of the others that were around that time. I certainly can't remember any of the others. But I remember Carmona on because of how it seemed as though he was coming to wrestle back the country from the criminals. And his gun talk, you know what I mean? John Wayne shot a thing is where he come out with out the gate, right? Which could be a good thing, right? Which could be useful. But what they say, the sugar more than the stick or something like that, so they say. And I think Chistine Kangaloo come with the sugar. And there are a few parts of her speech that I want to highlight. She did talk about her own past and where she came from. She mentioned her husband several times throughout the speech. She even said that, listen, she said one of our founding nations spoke of the future of the nation as being in our children's school bags. I believe that heightening awareness at the primary school level about the role of the president will help promote a better understanding of the presidency. She said, I'm aware of at least one primary school in South Trinidad, the San Fernando Girls Government Primary School, Standard 4. I guess Singh is Mrs. Singh, I guess, or Mr. Singh, that has embarked on a project to heighten the awareness of the role of the president. So long as that school's principal permits, I should be very happy to meet with the students at Standard 4 to discuss with them how they and their teacher might be able to help to lead and spread projects like theirs across the country. That might seem like a small or a simple statement, right, to make in your inauguration, but I want you to put yourself in the shoes of, I guess, Singh, Mrs. Singh. I hope it's Mr. or Miss Singh, please. Don't be wrong about that. But I want you to put yourself in the shoes of that teacher or those students in that class and how they would have felt when they were singled out in such an important occasion, and the project that they were working on get national coverage, or the most important coverage that we'd have had on a day, like the day the president is getting inaugurated or sworn in. I hope I'm using the right terms, right? But the way they will feel is priceless. And she didn't just say, hey, I recognize all you for doing all you want. She said, boy, if the principal would permit me, it show a level of humility to me in that statement already. She said, I want to talk to them about how you all could help us make this project a bigger thing. How you could help us lead this into more schools, because we want to make sure that the presidency is highlighted. I find it's one of these things that stood out. I'm going to get a next paragraph that I find stood out, of course. I will go to the Calypso. Let me come to the Calypso last, right? She said that, and here, man, I have no contact lenses. Let me put disclaimers out here one time, right? Because my reading generally bad and it's going to be worse. But it says one of the ways in which I would like to see the office of the president made more accessible is by having its facilities put to even greater use in hosting cultural, educational, and artistic ventures, particularly among the youth. For example, I would like to see the bandstand put to regular use as a platform for new and emerging young artists. I have some new and emerging young artists to play in this episode, Mrs. President. Let me see if you put them on the bandstand. But okay, I would like to see the main ballroom and the grounds at the president's house used to host displays such as art exhibitions by primary and secondary school students. And I would like to see the public areas at the president's house being opened up to facilitate endeavors such as book club meetings and programs to introduce young people to music. As the preeminent office of the public service in this country, I would like to see the president's house and its grounds serve the public by becoming a cradle for intellectual, cultural, and artistic exploration among our youth, and in so doing, helping to improve observation, perception, and communication skills among young people. She referenced this in the context or against the backdrop of what she referred to as the Panyard model. I like the oh God, me and the cultural references, right? You will catch me every time with that, right? So she said, another means through which I believe the youth and those who interact directly with them can come to the country's aid, particularly in this season of rising crime, is through the model provided by the steel band movement in its preparations for Panorama. For decades, there have been those who have been telling us that the discipline and structure that the Panyard brings into the lives of young people each year in the lead up to Carnival combined to create one of the most effective youth delinquency prevention programs available in this country. As president, I will be anxious to meet with and listen to those voices, as I will be to use, be able to use the voice of my own office to advocate for the adoption in our communities of youth programs based on the Panyard model, not just limited to specific periods in the year, but on a year-round basis. I know when she says specific period, she says not just a carnival thing. What we're taking is the model. The discipline and structure around the Panyard that people typically talk about is the fact that people come together who may have different varying levels of musical ability in terms of their ability to compose, construct, read music, write music, or anything like that. They come together in very large groups and play very complex and complicated pieces of music. They show up with a level of structure and discipline because you have to be on there on time. You have to drill this thing over and over. You have to make the changes necessary as you go along from prelims to semis to finals. And you push your own pan, you carry your own load. There's so much that could be learned from the steel band movement in terms of what it takes to be able to get ready from somewhere around December, January, maybe even earlier than that, to be able to put on the type of performance that you could put on by the time you reach Carnival Saturday night. So for her to reference something like this, you win me over already as the best president we ever had. It's the greatest of all time. Maybe I should have just played this one speech, before I try to talk this through. It might be easier just to play the speech. Because the paragraph that she had, or the part of the speech that she had, the Express published it, right? So let me give them credit. So when I say paragraph, it's because I read it from the Express. The one that I like the most is she said to any and every... Well, she was responding to the opposition's inability to attend due to they weren't available, right? Because the opposition said that they didn't boycott. She said, The opposition say they just couldn't make it. Well, it was not an organized boycott. So let me tell you her response to this, right? In my particular case, I've listened carefully to the conversation that preceded my election to this office, and I am not at all unmindful of the fact that those who have expressed disquiet with my occupying this new role and who, for one reason or another, might not currently be fully on board with assisting me to achieve these goals. I know that there have been voices from certain quarters that have given the impression that such collaboration might not be as easily forthcoming as one might have hoped. What she's talking about is the opposition had said a lot when she was selected by the Electoral College about her PNM affiliations, right? They say she's a PNM, and I mean, this is a system we have. And the opposition does not partake in, this current opposition does not partake in anything that this government does. It does not matter if it's Independence Day. I've documented us talking about that here many, many times where they do show up. And again, to what she talked about with Calypso, right? But it is one of the reasons it is going to be very, very difficult for me to see myself casting a vote for this particular opposition party, the UNC. I find it real hard to vote for UNC. It's not that I like the PNM. I don't like them. I wish I had an alternative or somebody else I could have voted for and be happy about it. But you see, me, I a little bit stupidly patriotic, ridiculously so. And there's no reason behind my patriotism. You see, Trinidad I like here and I like here bad. We football teams get licked, I like them bad. To me, there's the greatest team in the world. To the point where I just feel uncomfortable. I will never wear no next country jersey to say I back in. I like Argentina. I will never buy Argentina jersey. I don't even want to wear no Chelsea jersey. I gave them enslavers to give me jersey to wear. I like Trinidad. This is home for me. I like Calypso. I like all other kind of music, but I want to hear Commander sing. You know what I mean? So because of how I feel about the country, I find it to be very, very disrespectful to the country as a whole. To people who are considering options when they're going to vote. Because you have about 1/3 of this country. You have 2/3 of this country who do consider no option when they go and vote. They either go and vote PNM or they go and vote UNC. But they have a growing percentage of this population who genuinely interested in seeing what is the best thing to offer to the country. And will go and vote for the PDP. Or any alternative that we see. That gives us some reason to hope, or some reason that we feel we have policies that could actually change the country, or whatever it might be. We genuinely want to hear from you. So the fact that the Independence Day, which for me is all of us, that is not a PNM Independence Day. The fact that you see, and you know what's bother me? And this might be just all mental for me. A part of me is feel they don't show up for Independence and Republic Day because they don't want to wear red. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't go so far, but I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable. So when I expected that the opposition, it did not matter who the PNM select, although these words were very good coming from Chistine Kangaloo, but she fully well know that too. She from here. It didn't matter who they select. The opposition was not going to be there for any reason. And they said they didn't boycott, right? So there's her responding to that sentiment that she's a PNM and thing. She said to any and every such voice, I repeat Merchant's invitation in the song, so beautifully sung this morning by my beloved Southerners choir, to let us forget spites and grudges and concentrate, and to come let us sit and try to relate. I assure all who have not yet signed on to the idea of my presidency that in the words of Melanie Hudson, so movingly brought to life this morning by the Southerners, I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, no matter whatever joy or pain that you are going through. We play music and enjoy ourselves in here. Yes, Chistine Kangaloo, we play music and celebrate the greatest president that the country has ever seen and that the country will ever see. I as a man, you have me here. No, I will say, right? I will say that no matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through in this country here, as excited as anybody might be about your arrival, and I might be more excited than most, boy, you give it time in this country, they could find a way to vilify you and carry your name all through. Look what happened to good Paul and me. But while we're here, and we know he is the greatest, Let me take in that now, man. I will always be here for you.
I remember when you children were weak and hungry. I took you to my bosom, fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me drained, there was always enough for you in my soil. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be always there for you. Everybody always call me a blessed mother. Mama Trini, God must love you, they'd say. Hello, high water, I would just rise and embrace you, protecting my children in every way. Even when you fight and argue about different fathers, remember, the middle passage brought them straight to my door. Mama never worry about no race, I just love them. And so my blood is spoiled when you start to walk. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be always there for you. So if you really want to make your old lady happy, if you really want to fill me with joy, all you got to do is start looking out for each other. I mean, man and woman check for the girls and boys. To those of you who sow your seeds and then run like crazy, I want to see you turn and commit your heart. And those of you who choose to lead all the rest, do your duty. Foolishness will only tear us apart. And I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be always there for you. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be always there for you.
Listen, if you was listening to that song and the video was in your mind, you're old. Even from nowadays, I told you from a long, long time ago. So listen, the fact that she could identify this song is an important thing to me. And I want to go on to read what she said after she spoke about this song, right? She went on to talk more about this song. She said, for what all of us have to realize, as Ms. Hudson reminds us, is that whatever grief and sadness we bring into each other's households, in the end, we are all and we are still this country's daughters and sons. And so I pledge to work with and to respect all citizens, even and especially those who might not yet wish to work with me to achieve these goals that I have shared with the country today. I think the goals that she shared with the country are important goals. I would love to see the Panyard model adopted and accepted in the president's house. I would like to see the president's house brought back to life and outside of Flagstaff, where performances happening on the bandstand, football playing. Our partner Solomon Guy Zola, who's always talk about growing up in St. Anne's and playing football on president's wrongs. It is an important part of the life of, you see, solving crime is not about putting a policeman on every corner to lock up criminal and there's a whole set of police and everything is a scene and all them kind of thing, you know what I mean? There's a sting operation and who lock up. That's part of the thing, yes. But something I was listening to the other day, I was saying, listen, you're never going to eliminate all antisocial behavior. And it is a reality in any society. There's no society that will eliminate crime fully or eliminate any behavior that the society don't welcome fully. It can't happen. We in a completely runaway and out of hand situation that we had to manage ourselves. And the police will always be needed for those reasons. But it should not be that the police so overworked or the politician overworked and the corrupt, and that is what the whole country built on. And day to day, we live in a world where I saw this week, for instance, a guy by the name of Joey. I don't know him personally, but he seemed to be a very well-known guy. Was around Caesar's army and everything. Going to check his girlfriend, gunned down, right? And this is now a reality and a norm of the society we live in, where you could be going and do something that's quite a normal thing that people do in a society. You want to live in a society where you can have a little girlfriend, you go and check your girlfriend. This is what life is. This is what we have a little 80 years on this earth. This is where you're going to check your girl. You know what I mean? So how that becoming a high risk activity? And I was talking to Stacey about this, and we was talking about, listen, I as a man going a lot of I used to like a certain type of girl, right? Let me put it this way. I had a kind of affinity for a certain type of girl. And you had to be living a certain place. You had to be talking a certain way. Your goal had to be in very, very big letters, either in your ears or around your neck. The bigger the letter, the more like your gold teeth was a prerequisite. And, well, powder, right? Of any sort. That was part of the MO. The Corey starter pack was made of these things, right? And I went in a lot of different places where I find myself in a household where my mother, and you know, it's about me, Miss Gorong, saying, your parents praying for you. My mother and them home praying for me. I any hood looking for hood. I have no kind of hood in me. You know, you can watch my face and know me never ounce of badness in me, me not nothing. But I late in the night, all in people hood screwed up my face for no good reason whatsoever. But that's why I like. And sometimes you find yourself, you wonder why you put yourself in that situation. But in Trinidad, no, it's no situation to put yourself in. It's anywhere, anytime, and anybody. That is the society we're living in now. And I always worry about the fact that crime is always get boiled down to murder. So when we talk about crime, it only means murder and very, very violent crime now. And it seems to be on the doorstep of the Minister of National Security or the Commissioner of Police. So we only talking about the people who's activate after the crime happen, or who there for their presence to be deter crime. In other words, I see a policeman there, so I ain't gonna rob this shop or rob a next shop wrong. So when I don't feel we talk enough about the things that will make people live in a society and want to live a life where they don't want to commit crimes. They don't see crime as an option. They see the countryman as their fellow man. They see opportunity and hope. And they're inspired to make something of themselves, of the community, of the families, of the country. So I want to, as much as I find that President Kangaloo so far is the best president we've ever had, I want to hold her to these words because you know thing this go, you know everybody just talk sweet. And then when the time come, it's a different story. So this line in particular about or this part of her speech that speaks directly to people who don't see her as fit to be there and don't want to work with her, and the fact that this country, Chistine Kangaloo, we holding you to this, and this is something we'll be revisiting from time to time because this is a very important part of what needs to change in this country, because it seems to be that we are two parties now who only talking to their followers and supporters. Everything that they do and say is directly to the 33% that has followed them. Them forget we here. I talk about the undecided voter or the disenchanted voter or the non-voter. Them fellas and them forget we here. This fella and this woman, I should say. And everybody who following them. They forget that there are people here who genuinely interested in the betterment of the country, who genuinely love each other, who genuinely participate in each other's culture, who, if it's curry eating, we eating curry. If it's tassa beating, we beating tassa. If it is whatever the festival it is, we involve, we are part of our community. We do things for one another. We look out for our neighbors. We party with one another and enjoy each other's company. We mix up and thing, you know what I mean? We make a lot of mixed race children and so on. Them fellas forget we exist. Them only, they think the whole country who say anything bad about what they do is for the other side. So if you say, boy, I ain't really like how you make that joke about Watson Foot, you know. Use a PDP or use a UNC. You're against the PNM and you hate thing and you don't. I trying to figure out like when has that became the norm and accepted by politicians. If you tell the UNC, I ain't like all they shopping, all they don't shop Independence Day, all they look how nice Kamala Prasad Bisesa go looking a little red something and she's done fashionable already, put a little red, white and black little hat. I see it, you know. Well, you wouldn't do that because you don't want nobody see as PNM and take picture and make meme and say join the PNM and them thing. You're just not doing it. And because I say that now, I is a PNM and I wear PNM. And listen, the rhetoric online, it is bad. I'm telling you, in online comments is terrible on Facebook and them kind of thing. Where everybody on Facebook seem to have the same level of reading that I have when I try to read on this podcast. And they I mean, it's bad. But if I go and say that under one of them posts, no, I could guarantee you. The first thing you know and say, all the big dons, all it's just anything Rowley say, all they set out dons, and that all they still where all they living and all they poor. And I was like, what is going on? Why? Who is these people? This is not the same people I live in next to and living on. It can't be. These people from some other society. So these politicians, they clean forget their talking. If you want to see some of them comments, go and read any one of the comments under any posts that talk about Krokro versus Inshan Ishmael, and you understand what I'm talking about. It's almost not real. It's definitely surreal. So Chistine Kangaloo, we holding you to that. This is something that we genuinely want to see, because my belief is when things like that change, when the politicians and the leaders who are in charge start to remember that they are in charge of everybody. I am in charge of the PNM till I'm dead. I'm in charge of the UNC till I'm dead. I'm in charge of the I don't like none of all you because all you ain't doing nothing good. And everybody is who you are in charge of. And I don't even say you want to use the term in charge too much. You're leading all of us. You're there to, we're looking to you for policies, decisions. We're looking to you to change this place and make the place better. Make the place a better tomorrow. So, Chistine, we have we eye on you. We watching. We accepting your invitation, and I hope you're accepting ours.
Now the election back and I'll die away. In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget spites and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land.
Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Oh, yeah, remember the key to success is working hard. For our country we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now more than ever we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land.
Come on, Rowley, come on, Kamla,
And let us build a nation together. So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is putting more effort and less play. Because now more than ever we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. This also goes for every Trinbagonian
yes,
who want to live in a foreign land. Now is the time to come home and do something, instead of staying out there and freezing. Because now more than ever we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Now, many a time I come here and I say it's the best written calypso ever, and I'm tempted to say that, right? But I wouldn't say it. What I will say is, you see, this song, it is a perfect song. It has some song when nothing can change, nothing can remix, nothing can take out, nothing can put in. It's a perfect song. Lyrics perfect. The bass and the guitar working together perfect. The solo in the end is perfect. The background vocal is perfect. The lead vocal is perfect. Song. And this is why, again, Chistine Kangaloo, all the ratings. All the ratings I could possibly give it. How many more ratings I need to give? What else I'm missing from what she said? One of the things that I feel I want to explore, just dive a little deeper into, is the fact that she said she want the young artists, right, to come on the bandstand. No, Chistine Kangaloo. I'm not sure if you're paying attention to what these young artists doing right now, right? But I would like to be the one who help you. You know what I mean? Because this speech inspired me so much. The Southern Air song so good. My father and the squad song so good. Atiba, everybody's song so great. You do so much for me yesterday as an organization, you would never know. So I want to do back something for you, right? I want to identify one of the young artists, or actually a pair of the young artists who running the summer right now. You know what I mean? The summer is coming and these artists is running the summer. So coming out from a perfect song, I would like to play for you one of the songs that run in the place right now. And I want to know if this is one of these songs. I mean, because you're here now and summer could be a good time to get them youths and them coming out, school, going on vacation in July, August. They're going to be fetting, they're going to be partying and things. Why not let them come on the bandstand? And if it's young people you want there as the audience and it's young people music you intend to play, let me, Chistine Kangaloo, introduce you to some young people music, right?
It's in there.
Yes.
In there.
Right?
In there.
In the bandstand.
In there.
Yes.
Minne, mine, mo.
Yes.
Nelly, have me whining low. Minne, mine, mo.
Yes.
Nelly, have me whining low. Oh.
Down to the ground, to the ground, to the ground, to the ground, get low, huh? Down to the ground, to the ground, to the ground, to the ground, get low, huh? Bend and touch your toe.
Yes.
Show them use a pro.
Yes.
Fuck too.
Oh God, all right, okay, all right. That is the voice of the great Nelly Cutsoy. alongside Roma. So, from a perfectly written song from Merchant, what I would call the perfect song, to Ine, Mene, Mine, what do you? Ine and Mene, and Mine, and more. So I just want to know if that's who you're planning to bring on the bandstand, because anytime you bring Nelly Cutsoy and Roma, I am coming on the bandstand. I am not missing that show. And you know, the thing about it is, if you, they used to say, like, when you listen to young people music, let me talk like one of them old archaic people, right? When you listen to these, plenty of the music, it's singing like if it's a little nursery rhyme, like it's blah blah black bubble blah blah out. Like, you remember when he was young, they used to talk in gibberish when they know we understand something. They say wiggery gorin, ragarai drogarong, degree corgarong nagara. You remember them days? We grew up in the dark ages, you know. But the music that is singing now, it's how much lyrical value. It also don't have a whole lot of musical value. I mean, when you go up in the penka and you're having a few too much and the smoke is in the air and thing, you go find yourself moving. But the music is so great. I don't know if it's exactly bandstand music, but even though I used to laugh at them and say the rhymes is the most simplistic nursery rhyme kind of thing, now they're going directly to any mini mine more. They ain't even trying to hide it no more. And let me tell you something. I talk about hit songs. For all who know, any mini mine more is a hit song. But I want to play you. A real quick clip since Nelly and Romo done gone already, right? But I have a next one coming up from Roma. Because all in all, I can't stop Roma now. The first time I heard that any minute, my name, more thing, I think it was on a live with Voice and then Vibes with Voice on a Tuesday, and she makes she in and mine and mine and more. And the one thing with Roma, for those who don't know, Roma is a social media personality, right? A large amount of followers. Another one who I find should go and talk to the school trend. I mean, go and talk to the school trend. But she popular on social media. Let me just leave it at that, right? But I think she's not always cognizant of when people are laughing with her versus laughing at her. But I like how she takes something where I feel Voice and them was laughing at her, and Nelly Couture and them take it and make it into a song where Roma is performing now. So, but Roma have herself done as a songwriter, because I see Roma on a live recently with, to me, one of the greatest songwriters of our era, which is Young Brother and Pimpin'. The song for your money. And I want to play for you the song that she sang for Young Brother and Pimpin', which is her second offering after Any, Many, Mine, Mo. Hear this, right?
Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how did the pussy grow?
Oh God! All right.
Wash your hand,
All right. Okay. Just everybody relax. Listen. And listen, I really wanted to play for you how Young Brother and them laugh the belly full, you know. Young Brother and them laugh here, and let me play it, right? I hope I remember in the end to edit out this. I don't like this kind of thing to go out too much, but I'll try my best to remember to edit it out. But I want you to listen to Young Brother and them reaction to this song.
Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how did the pussy grow? And you have to start singing.
Why does they have this?
Listen. Christine, carefully select your younger artists, you know what I mean? Don't make the mistake that Carrie Chima make, and don't make the mistake that the ministry make, and say, carefully select the younger artists you would like to go on the bandstand for me, please. I want you to remain the best president we ever had. Yeah, the woman then says 7 is she said that in her speech, you know, 7 is a lucky number. She's the 7th. I ain't so lucky with the lotto. Like the lotto, going to how much $1 million the lotto is now. Somehow, I don't even bother to play lotto again because I don't feel like I have hope. You see, the same thing I'm talking about as a running theme throughout this episode, giving people hope and making people feel there's something to aspire towards, an inspiring greatness and thing. The lotto don't do that much for me. I don't know. I just don't feel I have a chance to win the lotto at all. When I play, sometimes I don't even bother. And you know, the Powerball thing make it worse. When they put this Powerball thing, now when I pay all them set a quick pick, because I don't have the patience to go and select out all them numbers. I being honest, it's quick pick how to do it. When they say the Powerball number is 1 now, and I watch the hundreds of dollars I spend in quick pick, so fooling myself into thinking this giving me some better odds, but I'm telling you that you could buy 100 tickets. Them odds, as you say, that's not helping you at all. When you're talking about enormous numbers, them couple 20 tickets you're buying ain't helping. But when you look at the thing and they say the Powerball is 1, I glimpsed through my thing and I only had 2 things with 1 as the Powerball. I don't know, I lost. And then they said watch through the 1, all the rest of the number, the helter skelter. You ain't nowhere close to winning. I just be vexed, I just be mad. But I just saying that since the new president is inspiring hope and, you know what I mean, bringing, maybe I'm going to play the lotto and our 7 is my Powerball. I'm going to put 7 for all the power. Well, I shouldn't be telling our ladies. What are we talking about next? Only going to play quick pick. Erla say we need God. Talking about inspiring hope and, you know what I mean, greatness and them kind of thing. Erla say we need God. Erla is who going to, I can tell you. After I listened to them, after I listened to Rumo becoming an international recording star, I think I want to go along the lines with Erla here and agree with Erla that we need a little God in our life here, right? So I'm reading from Akash Samaru from The Guardian. Commissioner of Police Erla says divine intervention is needed to fix the murder rate. All right, there's always. She didn't say just the other day that Give she 2 weeks and think want to murder again or something like that. All right. Commissioner of Police Erla Christopher believes this country is dealing with an unnatural evil, and without divine intervention, her anti-crime strategies, including reducing murders, will be doomed to fail. Addressing the members of the Shogunas Chamber of Industry and Commerce at Signature Hall in Long... Wait. This is what's causing all this traffic. The other morning I leaving to go to school to drop this man to school. And something happened by Signature Hall. I tell myself it's a funeral though. Because Signature Hall pack up with people all the side streets. Anyway, I didn't realize it was you. I would come and talk to him myself. So this is where you block up traffic to go and tell we it's God we need that going and help. All right, okay, let me just calm down. Addressing the members of the Shogunas Chamber of Industry and Commerce at the Signature Hall in Londonville, Shogunas yesterday, Erla Christopher admitted that suppressing the murder rate is still a bit beyond the capabilities of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. As such, she called for a backup from above. She's quoted as saying, "An evil has spread over the land, and we must recognize, those of you who are spiritually inclined, you must recognize that this is beyond the physical. And unless we seek the intervention of that greater spirit, whatever we may call him," I guess I'll add that for you. "We know we have different religions, so who will call him God? Who will call him Allah or Krishna? All of us, if not 99% of us, believe in a superior being, okay? And we need to invoke the help of that being if we need to really bring Trinidad and Tobago back to that place where we want it to be," Erla Christopher said. She added, "Because the police can come up with whatever strategy, but unless we enlist the help of God, we'll be working in vain." You know what I mean? For this year alone, we have already recovered, as of day before yesterday, 126 illegal weapons and over about 3,000 rounds of ammunition. Wow. If you think of ammunition as one round of ammunition can kill you, how many lives have been saved or protected? I like how you're thinking about that too. She says, "We know we can't get your support unless you trust us," the Commissioner of Police said, while promising that she will have a zero-tolerance approach to police indiscipline and corruption. All right, let me deal with all these issues separately. Right? Well, she say, "I want to know the Central Division and number of officers that have been arrested and charged for corruption." Okay, cool. So the main thing that she was trying to say is, number one, I will clean up the police force, zero tolerance where that is concerned, and we need God. I wanted to address this thing, right? Because I'm not a religious man, you know what I mean? I haven't gone to church in a long time, you know what I mean? I do weddings and funerals mostly, and if Stacy tell me we had to go to church more often, I'm trying to respect these wishes and go to church more often. And you know the thing about it, right? I don't go to church and I always talk about not being non-religious, but you know, when I go to church, I really enjoy the little messages. I like to hear people preach. You see just how I like to listen to podcasts all the time, and I would like if you listen to podcasts all the time, just saying. I like to hear people preach. You know what I mean? The message. I like Jason Charles Gordon of the County Council. I like to hear the things he say. I find they inspiring, they're well put together. And maybe it's me just enjoying hearing people who well read and well traveled and exposed and who speak regularly talk. Or maybe again messages from God directly. I don't know. I know, but I'm starting to like more and more the things that I remember the last time I went to church, Father Pierre was talking about youths and connecting with youths and updating the church and so on. I get to like that more and more. But I'm still not a very religious person. I'm not devoid of God or spirituality. But religion, I feel, is so divisive sometimes. A little bit like politics for me. But having said all that, I feel like I kind of agree with Erla. I feel like I agree with Erla. I feel she right. Hear me out, right? Because sometimes it don't make 100% sense, right? When you first you come and say, "Boy, give me about 48 hours, I go clean up these streets," and then you come and you say you need God, right? Man is telling me, confidence is what you have before you know what the job is. So when she now get the work, that's how she was talking about. When you get the work and you really see the type of heinous crimes that going on, the type of corruption you have within your own ranks, and the things police getting arrested for. I read something recently where an increasing amount of ammunition marked TTDF is being found on crime scenes. This must be overwhelming for a person who is in that position. And I can't give nobody wrong for being in that position and openly calling on a higher power. Because I could tell you that I couldn't do that job that she doing there. And when I see what she saw, I was definitely leaving the job. I don't want no part of that. I don't want that for my family. I don't want to deal with none of them things. And it's simply not for me. Now, she put herself there, right? So granted, she had to be able to do the job. But I think that the idea of calling on a higher being is very, very similar to compare Carmona's speech to what I saying about Chistine Kangaloo. Carmona come and say, boy, I go and clean up all this sort of roach here. And you know what I mean? He go and bust up the place. And Chistine Kangaloo say, come by the president's house. Come and lime. Come and show your arts. We'll come and bring in music. Let we come together. I will come down by all this school. I will see where's the scene. I feel so good the day I see Paula May Weeks take a chip wrong her pants side. I would love to see more of that from our leaders and our presidents. And come closer to us. Come close. There was a part in Chistine Kangaloo's speech. I want to beat that to death, right? That she was saying that inevitably as a president, you're going to have security and, you know, those types of things. But she said, don't make that what the position is. Don't make that into what the thing is. And I feel like sometimes all leaders get so aloof and so far from us. So when I compare Carmona's speech to Chistine Kangaloo's speech, in terms of one is designed to inspire, create hope in the country. You know what it's like? When Soca Warriors qualify for the World Cup, or when Lara make 375 or 501 runs, or 475, 365, 475, 501, or Keshawn win gold, or who am I missing there? Wendy win the Miss Universe. Just take yourself back to any one of them positions, right? Or where were you when those things happened, right? When those things happened, the crime situation in the country didn't change, the level of poverty didn't change, the level of corruption was the same. All the things that we don't like and we fed up of and we can't take and we hate Trinidad, all those things remain the same. But we all felt a sense of pride and belonging and kinship and brotherhood in Trinidad and Tobago in those moments. We talk to neighbors who we'd never talk to. We smile, even if it's for a few days after. We walk with we head high as Trinidadians and we smile and we hail out one another, almost like you're passing a stranger and you're nodding to him to say, boy, you see Wendy, boy? Tears in the eye to be Trinidadian, to be Tobagoan. We feel that. The place lift up. Even though all the different markers of what would make us a better country, none of that didn't change, right? So using that as my parallel to why leaders had to find ways to inspire, to create hope, to create that level of pride. It's harder to do in politics and leadership. Ask Justin Trudeau, right? It's harder to do in politics and leadership than it is to do with something like sports, where people are already naturally invested in it. And we trust the sports people. We trust our beauty queens. We distrust politicians. You know what I mean? We don't like them. for good reason a lot of the times. So comparing those two speeches versus Carmona versus Kangaloo to Gary Griffith versus Erla, where Gary Griffith come with the same kind of, I go kill all them roach and it's bop, you know what I mean? I will spray them up and you know what I mean? If it's gunfire and I go spray back. And he always claims that he has the best crime rate and all them things. I want him to just eliminate the COVID years from that and run back them numbers by me again to see how much murders really went down under your watch. And I feel like Chistine Kangaloo spends a good bit of her time talking about the 6 people who came before her. It leads me to believe that if she was to do an exit speech when she leaving, she would be very gracious in the person that she handing over to. As she said, Paula May was with her. And she may well even wish them the best of luck and so on, which is not something that I've never seen Gary Griffith do that. Gary Griffith seemed to only want the country to be a better place if he is in the position of leadership, whether it is as Minister of National Security or Commissioner of Police or whatever Prime Minister or whatever he want to do. He want to be Mayor of Port of Spain too. The way he's talk, right, is like if he celebrates the fact that the country crime rate is high and murders high and stuff. Because all you get rid of me, that good. All you take that. I find that to be very, very hard to stomach and hard to listen to and hard to tolerate. Because I like this place. I like here in real life. And when people talk like that, I sort of wonder, all they like here in real life, boy, Book Reef, all they went anywhere nice here, that's all they find real nice. And you feel what I feel. All they like Soca Warriors, all they like Bacon Shack, all they like Trinidad, all they like this culture, all they like the people who you're seeing around here. Why would I celebrate that? So the parallel for me is when he come and he say, I go kill Roach and I think I'd much rather somebody in a leadership position come and say, hey, what we need is God, you know. What we need is God. What we need is divine intervention, divine for everybody to be who believe in God to come together, pray for us who involved in crime to turn our lives over to God. I find it is more, and while again I want to put it out there that I'm not the most religious person, so appealing to God and giving me this swagger thing, I don't think that will ever work on me like that. But I would always rather somebody come with some kind of inspirational words for the people who you plan to lead, rather than words like, I will mash out all them, said a cockroach, and then he will call police, we will kill all of them. I mean, they have good police, much more good than bad, I would assume, working in the police force. And if you address them, because let me go a step further. It's my belief, I was telling somebody many, many years ago, that the type of heinous crimes you see and the lack of mercy in crimes, that there's a sort of godlessness going through the criminal that is going to be hard to stop. What I'm saying about that is, if somebody points a gun at you now, you're going to beg and say, well, boy, I children, I think, please. I don't think those appeals working in any way now. You know? And I believe that they would have worked before. I'm not basing that on anything except my belief. That we come from a time where you could have begged yourself away or talk yourself out of a situation. But I don't think it have much hope for that. When the men and them raise that machine, it's over. And I feel like it's a certain level of drugs that these youths taking and a certain level of godlessness in their eyes. And them men, they don't care that you going home to train and stuff. They're not living for much. They don't care about who is who and what happened tomorrow and all that. And a part of it is because all the hope and the aspirations and things gone out of their eyes. So if she trying to find a way, and God is the route that she taking to put back that hope and aspiration in us, that this thing could be done. We just need I with it 100%. Don't vex with me. Another thing that I've noticed too, right? I want to watch all these gangsters. Forget gangsters, right? Watch everybody involved in crime. The higher up they go in the crime, is the bigger the ring, the stay away from the finger. It is grow. I'm talking about police, man who doing crime watch show, man who suspected as criminal, man who known as criminal, man who dead, and they say, when they talk about these people who as criminals, they talk about community leader like they were so great. I want you to watch the ring. There's be all of them go in place to get a ring mount up and thing. I can talk about this. All of them going by their priest and priestess and it'll be a man or whatever you want to call it to get a ring mount up and to get a self-protection and thing. So the very people who you're trying to fight against, they going into the spiritual realm to find what they could find to protect themselves. And when them say protect themselves, what I mean is when I go to kill him, right? I don't want him dead. When I go to rob him, I want to come home safe. Them want to go home safe to them family too, and them turn into spirituality or what they call God or whatever it might be to protect them. So why the people who had a hunt after them and protect us mustn't turn to God too? I say go with God, yes? People was vexed when the woman said that, but I say go with God. I watching a situation in the papers this week that I feel sad as a little boy growing up in St. James. Sad to know about wooling. You have to understand what wooling means. Now, my mother is always correct me when I call the wrong street, right? So I ain't call it no street. Wooling is on the main road. I know I'm right about that, right? I think it's between Madras. I ain't calling no street. Wooling is on the main road. But if you know St. James, you know Wooling is a fixture in the community in St. James. Wooling has been there forever. Wooling family. They live right there all the time. They went Fatima. I went Fatima. I think it's Brent is his name. But, you don't pass your street nowhere. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet or bounce up anywhere in the street. A genuine. This is St. James people. The businesses in St. James. I remember Wooling when Wooling was a true Chinese shop. Remember Chinese shop long time? They used to have about 4 or 5 big wooden doors, big tall doors, and they open all the 4 or 5 doors. Wuling was more like a market than a grocery. I remember when Wuling turned into a grocery. That is them times when Back to Basics and them who opposite. Coincidentally, I hear the woman from Back to Basics did win the lotto. Just putting the lotto thing out there. I keeping hope alive for this lotto, right? And if you ain't hear no podcast next week, you ain't hear no more, right? But Wuling and them, I read in this thing where people run into Wuling house and beat up a 80-something-year-old man Wuling, or they went in and beat up and robbed the man. That have a certain level of godlessness that I don't know if man could necessarily combat that. So let me just read, right? For those of you who didn't know, it's from the Express. The Wuling Grocery, one of the oldest businesses in St. James, is closing down. This was announced by Brent Wuling, one of the partners of the supermarket, yesterday. The supermarket, which is located on the Western Main Road in the vicinity, Agra Street, right, mommy? Agra Street has been operational for over 60 years. It was being run by Brent Wuling. Brent is the one I went Fatima with. Or one of them I went Fatima with. His 83-year-old father and his 80-year-old uncle. It was opened when the family came from China and has been one of the staples of the St. James community ever since. Residents of the area could always depend on Wuling Grocery to be open and to interact with its pleasant owners who always showed kindness and appreciation for the customers. This is one of the businesses too where for years, when you go there, is Wuling and them cashing, you know, they very much involved in the business. They pack in their own shelves. Speaking to the Express yesterday, Wuling explained that the decision was made to retire and sell the business after armed men invaded the home and assaulted the 80-year-old man and robbed the supermarket on Thursday morning. If you know Wuling again, Wuling and them have always lived upstairs the grocery. For such a traditional type of business, it's, you know, high-low and no massive stores and no big. It's just Wuling. They're just there to serve the St. James communities, run a little bit, boy. They quoted as saying that was the first time anything like this has happened after years of business, and what I can say is that it's expedited our thoughts of retiring. We're all shaken up by the incident. My uncle wasn't too badly hurt, thank God. So we're going to try to sell the business. That's our priority, to sell. So it's not like we're closing down with immediate effect. This is not something that will happen overnight. So the business will still be in operation until this process is done. Boy, listen, this is such a sad thing for me, knowing what Wulings is and what they meant to the, or mean to the St. James community. This will be a St. James people thing, right? I don't know if you will get this if you're not from St. James and you're not listening to this, but you think about people robbing, and you would have had examples from whatever area you come from, or wherever you're listening to this, where you have complete advantage of elderly people. Thank God the two Wulings, nobody died in this incident, but that seems to be the norm now, where man could just run in your place, where you take years to build them running and come and take one time. You know what I mean? Them find you shouldn't have that, or they find they should have it, and them not on that sort of hard work thing. So they basically going and they're gonna help take that off for you. You know what I mean? Let me help you with them things. And I just find that this is, I applaud the police commissioner for having the belly to come out and say something like this. I feel like she would know that when she say, boy, what we need is God, a certain amount of cynicism and sarcastic remarks and backlash will come from a statement like that inevitably, because it's who you're dealing with and it's who we are. But I want to commend her for including that in her speech. You know what I mean? So salute to you, Erla. I mean, prayers for the Wulings and so on, but salute to Erla. We with you. I like Chistine Kangaloo, you know, despite our differences, and even if you find like that is not a good idea or whatever, it's better all we work together to see if we could make this place a better place and not have to be coming back here talking about the same set of things over and over. Or we could just decide now that this is a country known for crime. I don't know if I only remember my story about Wong Kai restaurant in London. Wong Kai is a restaurant that's known for bad service. Go and Google it, right? WONGKEI. They're known for bad service. And if you ever go in London, you had to go in Wong Kai. The food real good, but the service real bad. And it's deliberately bad. They put on a show where they're giving you the worst service they could give. There's clap and thing when you're leaving, but it's bad service. So if we talk about international and global competitiveness and rising to first world status, maybe we could turn ourselves into just what is it, a narco democracy, a high crime play. Like that might make us into some of the highest watched shows on Netflix. Is things like Narcos and is high crime kind of shows, you know what I mean? So maybe we have an opportunity to just go all the way, like lean into crime fully, so that becomes a tourist attraction.
All government of every country pay a criminal a big salary.
Yes.
And when they commit a crime, the law shouldn't give them any long time. A police should be glad when one sees a jaw. Lock an ex-boss office to break up my store. You should be merry when somebody violates the law. But that is what the government is paying him for you somebody don't bust somebody. How the policeman going to make a case? And if somebody don't lick out somebody, the magistrate will not nobody to try. And if somebody don't kill somebody dead, all the judges got to beg their bread. So when somebody cut off somebody's head, instead of hanging, they should pay their money instead. A chief give the whole force a promotion from a police to a commissioner. And if the commissioner living in the big mansion, and the man who promote him done Carrera. And if somebody don't crack somebody's skull plate, even the hand no jail court or some magistrate. Till when a man cut open somebody's belly, it's custody and the cat on 9 tail for you. And if somebody don't bust somebody's face, all the policeman going to make a case. And if somebody don't kill somebody dead, the magistrate will have nobody to try. And if somebody don't kill somebody dead, all the judges got to beg their bread. So when somebody cut off somebody head, instead of hanging, they should pay their money instead. If a man don't lick out a woman's teeth, or she don't party face with a sweet, or so off on a hand with a saw, what the government going to pay me not the law for? He's going to kick me and I'll break your ankle. Men of the law becoming honorable, and still when you do them thing, they send you straight in jail. And from the time they hold you, they send out no bail. And if somebody don't bust somebody face, all the policeman going to get a case. And if somebody don't lick out somebody eye, the magistrate will have nobody to try. And if somebody don't kill somebody dead, all the judges got to beg their bread. So when somebody cut off somebody's head, instead of hanging, they should pay their money instead.
The great commander, you know what I mean? Commander say, boy, crime out of Guardia, so maybe that's where we should be. Hey, I promised earlier I talk about foreign exchange, right? And let me talk about let me get serious for a minute here, right? Because you see, when he's stuck on my looking to bust out on my nano podcast, you know what I mean? So let me talk about Forex and see how much Forex available on them guys in there. You know what I mean? Gone, right? The issue, and I'm going back to the article, discussion that was happening, I mean, basically between the Minister of Finance responding to what the IMF was saying. The IMF basically saying, take off all the controls we have on the money, right? This is an important discussion, you know, because is this too technical to get into? No, I can't delay this again. I'm delaying this for long enough. So, Imbert and them basically, we have a foreign exchange issue in the country, right? Availability of foreign exchange is a problem. If you had to go and buy US, you have a problem to travel. Some of the banks, you had to show your itinerary to get US money. Sometimes when they show your itinerary, they say you could get 100, you could get 300. It's a small amount of money that they're giving you as an individual to travel. And I want to tell you that as a business, it's even more difficult. There's a cap on the credit card. So, for instance, our companies now, there's a cap on how much US I could spend every month. And when you have suppliers to pay, it makes us as a company seem like, I mean, it might be hard for the people to believe. It's something like delaying tactics. When I have an invoice to pay, but I tell them I need 3 months to pay what is not a huge payment. There's be iffy, there's be skeptical. It's like, what kind of company we dealing with? What kind of country is this? What is happening here? I remember the first time going to Guyana to lecture. I say Guyana for lecture, just like a Guyanese. When the first time I was going Guyana to lecture, and they had issues getting US to pay me, I find it was so strange, you know what I mean? I was like, what the hell is this, you know what I mean? I began paying once of the small bills, the money soft like it was in heavy circulation before. I accustomed to them a little cripsy, greenbacks and them, you know, but boy, the thing was a little soft. So I was like, what kind of weirdness is this? And we find ourselves in the same situation today. what caused us to be here? I think mostly predictable things like the level of production of oil and gas. Basically, it's not where we or petrochemicals or whatever it is not where it used to be in terms of our level of production and the amount of oil and gas that we find now. That was made even worse by oil prices that were low for the most part, and I think artificially being held up by wars and so on. You know what I mean? If them wars was to close off, we might be going right back down to the prices that are under what we've budgeted before. And if you understand, import. Am I going to talk about balance of payments on our podcast? I will get through this fast, right? If you look at imports versus exports, anything that you exporting out to this country, you could attract foreign exchange. You're selling it to a country. Let's assume you're selling it to the US. They pay you in US dollars, right? You want to collect foreign currency as much as possible, and then that foreign currency could remain in circulation in your economy. So when the IMF talks about removing restrictions, there's a few things that they're talking about. First, exchange rates. Am I really going to talk about this? Exchange rates are. I hesitant because I don't want to turn the thing into a class, right? I try my best, but they have three different types of exchange rate regimes, right? They have what you call a fixed regime, a floating regime, and a managed float, right? Fixed is where the government they say where's the price of the US. They just tell you, hey, the price of the US is 2-1 or 1-1, and they decide how much we pay for US. Of course, that is not the most reasonable situation, because if I have US to sell now and the government come and tell me US is 1-1, I will not be selling my US to the bank or to the government or to anybody who giving me $1. I still looking to go and get me 6, how much ever it is. And that will generally create a black market, and that create all kind of issues with management and so on, right? So you typically find them in countries that are a little more communist in the approach, right? A little more communist or socialist, or I was trying to avoid using the word dictator, but is heavily run by the government, right? Whereas with a float is based on demand and supply, and it's demand and supply for the goods and services in that country. So if you exporting a whole lot more than you're importing, you tend to find that the pressure, there will be pressure on your price. More people would need your dollars, and they could bid up the price of the dollar, right? I'm trying to get through this. And then a managed float is basically a mix between a fix and a float, where I decide that it could float, but I also decide where it could float, which is the Trinidadian situation. The Trinidadian situation is a managed float. They allow it to be based on demand and supply, but we see that it can't pass. I think it's 6.7 somebody, 6.779, 6.997. Somewhere there is where the government of this country say US dollars cannot go past that price in the official system. But just look on your WhatsApp status, on your Instagram status, you check your friends that you know. Nobody, or check it during Carnival, nobody was coming down here and selling the US for 6.077 nothing. That's what the bank will give you. But most people will come and say, I will let it for $8.50. I will let it for $9. Some going as high as $10. If you have a good friend, they're going to tell you, well, give me $7. You know what I mean? Because we know it creates the same black market that the fixed price will create. The government also has restrictions in terms of how much US the institutions can get or release on a daily basis. Hence the restriction on my credit card, right? So they tell the banks how much you could deal with on a day-to-day. They certainly put a cap on how much Western Union and MoneyGram, anybody trading in US dollars, the government is involved and telling them, hey, this is what you could get, because, and they do that through quota, right? So what you're controlling is the supply. You're managing how much US is put into the system every day, and you're managing the price of the US dollar. Now that works for me because I'm a man like Amazon. So I don't like the unavailability of US, where I struggle to get US to pay off my credit card, and Republic Bank had this ridiculous US side and TT side where you can't pay off your US transactions in TT and all that. That is so complicated to me. But at least for the other banks, I could spend in US and pay back my card in TT. You all noticed recently, on Amazon in particular, you could pay in TT dollars. Amazon is the greatest organization ever created. The men taking TT, them realize US is a problem and Trini like to shop. So they say, hey, what? Take them fellas and them monopoly money. We go figure out what to do with that on the back end, right? But generally speaking, if you're buying online or you're traveling, you're going to need US dollars and it's hard to get. But what I will say is this. Should we remove those restrictions? It's a tough question, and it's a tricky place because the dollar will probably settle. I mean, one of the brightest economists I ever talked to, a guy by the name of Roger Hussain, salute to Roger. He was talking about 15 and thing. That's the numbers them fellas was bandying about, and that was in 2005, 6, 7. He was talking about 15 is where it had to settle around now when the oil and gas started to run out and them kind of thing, right? It's certainly not going to be under 10 if we let it float because we, outside of oil and gas, we import everything. You know what I mean? We have some small imports in food and beverage and things throughout the Caribbean, but our import bill is high. And I say that it will come down to this, right? We have, as individuals, as institutions and so on, we have a taste for foreign products. We like to import things. We like to buy stuff from abroad. Man, make a little jersey here and like that. You want Nike and Adidas, and we like them types of things. And those things have a kind of effect, right? So think about it like this. As long as US remains $6 and something for one, we will continue to shop on Amazon. If tomorrow US go to 100 to 1, right? Think of something that was costing 10 US before. That was you could have buy that for $70 roughly, right? So it's costing 10 US, that about 70 TT. If that rate go to 100 to 1, that same 10 US that thing costing is now costing you 1,000 TT dollars. I hope my math's good enough because it's always bad. But understand that it's costing you much more in TT dollars. We're going to be vexed. Whoever make that decision probably going to lose the next election and all them kind of thing because they're going to say it's mismanagement. Of course, the opposition will paint it as that. But think of what it will do. It will force our tastes and preferences towards local products. We will start to like local fruits and you know what I mean? We will start to like wildfowl truss, looking nice. Tobago, nice. Miami, not so nice no more. When you look at a Miami ticket, that is 500 US these days. Imagine what that will be if the exchange rate go to where it needs to be. Even changes like 10 to 1 or 12 to 1 is going to drastically reduce our import bill. We will buy less things from abroad if we get the exchange rate probably at a fairer price that is determined by demand and supply, right? But it is going to help our local industries. But nobody seems to want to take that decision here. And the IMF is telling us, hey, that is one of the ways to regularize the economy right now. You know? You had to get rid of that. But my belief is that it is highly political in that whoever take that decision have a rough road ahead of them. And I'm going to call for the economy to do some restructuring too, because even in what you call local goods and services, all local goods and services still heavily dependent on imports to create. So if you look at Francis Fashion, they're not making anything, they're importing everything that they bring in. So even as the exchange rate change, it will take some restructuring because now you have to buy jersey from some local producer where we get cotton from, where we get all the raw materials that go into it. So I think it's a discussion that we have to continue to have. I hope that I didn't bore you to death and shed some light on something but it's a very important discussion, something that we had to pay attention to as a country, because all indicators show that we should probably let the dollar float or at least increase the ceiling of that 6 points, whatever it is, that nobody paying, and get it to a more reasonable figure where we can arrest that taste and preferences for foreign goods. All right, that boy ain't enough. Sorry, wake back up. You know what I mean? Wake up. Wake up, wake up. Important discussion, right? Should I go into UE and the financial struggles now after we don't talk a lot of the heavy talk? It's so related to what we're talking about there, because one of the ways that this economy was forced to restructure when money wasn't coming in as fast as possible and we had to be borrowing money. And once you start to borrow money, whether it's the IMF or the World Bank, anybody you borrow money from or take grants from these days too, they have input into how you run your economy or what you do to be able to pay them back. And one of the things that they talk to us about is, hey, you see that thing where tertiary education costing X and you paying all that money for them people, cut that. That is wasting money as far as they're concerned. Like, use that money to pay me back, right? Put your money into other things that could be used to service your debt to the World Bank or the IMF. So Gate start getting cut back. I remember going into UE when there was I went into UE the year before Dollar for Dollar, and then I went into Lockjack the year before Gate had get expanded to master's level. By my time it was perfect. So I remember when UE introduced Dollar for Dollar. Oh, sorry, the government at the time. I think that was under Pandey, that's late 90s. I went into UE in 2000. Who was in charge then? Pandey or Manning or who? Whoever was there, they had started Dollar for Dollar. And I remember being in UE and starting to understand campus life. I was living Watch Trace. So it is your first foray at adulthood at maybe 19, 20 years old. You're kind of on your own. You're away from your parents. You had to study. Nobody ain't telling you what to do no more. It's no teacher vex if you didn't come to class. Nobody will tell you nothing. You're finding your own sense of independence, right? Which was an experience for me. So one of my best experiences in UE was I'm on like early in the morning. So I like to get up early, go on campus, they cut in the grass. It used to smell so good, and I would sit down in small calf. The meals I could afford was in small calf at the time. So I get a leg and bread there and a little cup of tea or coffee in the morning. I think it's Miss Mary, the lady name was. And I sit down there and I eat and you know what I mean? I read what I had to read. I get ready for my first class must was at 9. So I used to enjoy that leaving home, even though I was walking distance and walk there early and them kind of thing, go to my classes. You know, the campus life is one that I wish everybody could get that. It's such an important part of my own development, more so than the courses I would have done. So now I lecture part-time too, and a lot of the students who I lecture don't have that campus experience at all because they are online. It's all Zoom and they don't get to know one another. But some of the best relationships I have came out of UE and Lockjack and those places. I feel like that's a part of the education that we don't pay enough attention to sometimes. But I remember what campus was like. It's just a nice place to be. You feel like you're in a hotbed of intellectual, you're among intellects then. People who pondering on how society could be better, you know what I mean? All of them in humanities. And it was just a nice place to be. And then I remember Dollar for Dollar when it was introduced. And there was so many people on campus, I can tell you. Like when campus started with Dollar for Dollar, there was a room called LRC, Learning Resource Center, where our biggest classes used to be. The smallest auditorium might hold 125 people. And then when you open it out, there are 3 or 4 of them auditoriums. So you're talking about 300-400 people in a class, which was done jarring for me already. But that used to be a real experience. And I remember after Dollar for Dollar, if you reach that class late, you had to sit down on the ground. Another thing that I remember as well is when you're going in washroom in UE by midday, all the toilet people used to run out in all the washrooms. Because Gate made it, or Dollar for Dollar at the time, was basically saying, I will pay 50% of the fees, the government will pay 50% of the fees for you, so you only had to come up with 50%. What it did was cause the parent, it is not a good strategy, I'll tell you. It's helped a lot of people, it's helped me to a certain extent, but it's not a great strategy for the development of our country, because we see when you put a subsidy across the board that everybody could access and everybody have different levels of wealth, all you're doing is moving a gap. You're not closing the gap in any way. And what I would think is a better policy or a better strategy is if you have $1 billion to do this, put more of it into the pockets of or toward the people who need the most help, and less of it to the people who, or none of it to the people who already did well and have all the money in the world and making money and doing what. Like, why would you pay Gate for Sabga and them children to be able to go to school abroad and them thing? Them fellas had the money put on to do that. Use the money, and they whether they get that or not, they will still go through tertiary education. What you're trying to do if you're developing a nation is put it towards the people who may have the wherewithal. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the funds. They don't have the. They don't. Let me use a rough example, right? They might not close to go on campus every day. They mightn't be able to travel to go there. They can't afford the meals. They can't afford to live any closer. They're in a household where they can't study, so they might need somewhere to rent. And then they also need tuition and books and all the help in the world. So by paying half the tuition for everybody, they still have some people who you wouldn't be able to help, because if you give half the tuition money to some people, they still can't afford to go to school because of those other things. And then half of that money going to SAP. You with me? It don't make 100% sense. It's not the best strategy ever. But the point I'm getting at is this. When you effectively make the price half price, for me as a parent who's sending my child to go undergrad, right? Let me say the total fees for a year was 30,000 at the time. Now I get 15,000 to go. You flood the campus with people. You create the demand gets so high now. The campus capacity was too low. So what the campus had to do was go into major construction, add new buildings, add more staff. Everything had to increase because of this new influx of students. I want to tell you as well that the 15,000 figure didn't remain the same because the demand is so high and the space is low. Where you feel go up to the price. You understand? If it's a 5 thing to buy, and all of we have money to buy the 5 thing, and the 5 thing essential to we survival, all of us will spend all our money on the 5 things. You get where I'm coming from? If you give us more money, all we will do is spend the more money that we get on the same 5 things. So the price of the 5 things will go up, and the value of the 5 things didn't change. All that changes is that we have more money and we could bid up the price. So it's caused the price to go up. So the price of tertiary education went up, and then UE invest a set of money now to build a bigger campus, essentially. More dorms, more room for people to stay in, more classroom in the lecture, more toilet there, toilet paper now. They have everything that the campus could need. And we did that over the years. And then now we run ourselves into a position where it's no more people to go to school because the gate cut. So the price get push up. So now that gate cut, even more people can afford tertiary education now than when they started off gate late 90s, early 2000s. And now they have to pay a full tuition fee. This is beyond the reach of even more people. So more people end up getting disenfranchised and can't go. And now the campus have a big facility that is bloated with staff to cater for this increased demand. So of course the UE having a financial struggles. It's like, what are we talking about here? I don't understand how we end up in these situations almost as if we couldn't anticipate it when everybody was seeing this coming. This was one of the easiest things to see. So I don't know if we're going back into a revenue situation anytime soon where gate will be restarted, or we could pay for more people education as they go along, because remember that when the price keep going up, the half that the government was paying was costing the public the coffers more. Sometimes we don't see that as taxpayers' dollars, we only watching our half. So our half going up, but the government having to pay more and more. So of course, when the IMF had to lend me money, they say, wait, what are you lending me money for that? When we get this money, die we are paying this into to pay this heavy overpriced education for these same 5 things that value didn't go up. They say, nah, forget our program. Forget that. Everybody can get free education. Who could pay for it? Let them pay for it. Focus on a healthcare system or whatever the things that the IMF would have told them to focus on it at the time. I want to add to that I am not sure about the relevance of a UE style tertiary education anymore. I would hazard a guess that type of education globally is going to diminish over time, because I saw somebody post this recently that thanks to TikTok they learn sign language, right? It's a horrible example. But I want to say that between TikTok, YouTube, Google, you could learn anything that you want to do on your own. So for instance, there would have been a time where to start a podcast or whatever was the equivalent back then, you would have had to go to broadcasting school and go through what would be a tertiary type education or a vocational type education. Or if you want to do, we say drafting and them things, you had to go John D and go through the vocation. I just want to say that no, you could learn a lot of those things online. You could learn by example. So everything I learn about podcasting, from editing, what equipment to buy, go away and watch my videos. I'm watching them blurry like hell. It's clear that I still didn't learn how to use the camera yet, but there's so much that you could learn online that I don't know how relevant that UE style tertiary education where you spend 3 years trying to make yourself a professional of something to enter entry level jobs, to have to work for 4 or 5 years, maybe 10, before you could elevate into a position that pays you back for that education, that money that was spent on education. You're seeing it in the US now where they have to do something about student loans because it's such a major issue now where people take so much loans. And I mean, the loans are poor too. The banks is a hell of a group of people. It's predatory like hell. But you find students who, even with the ones who get good jobs, struggle to pay off these student loans over time. So in other words, the return on investment not there on that type of education anyway. I used to really think that if you didn't go for me, if I didn't go UE, I would feel like I don't know much. But the reality is that anything that was taught in UE, I could teach and teach myself, and now more so than ever. There are some professional designations that are going to matter a lot, right? Like, so if you're a medical doctor, one of these institutions is still going to have to grant you that certificate. But I will say that a lot of the things that we do in universities, you could probably learn on your own. And we will likely live to see universities around the world start to contract or behave differently, offer different types of courses. I see Harvard were impossible to get into. And is the nose up in the sky, the highest, the snootiest people you'll ever see. Starting to do short course. Black China says she graduated from Harvard with a business certificate. I as far as I concern, that's signs of the times. Signs of the times. Universities seeing those big, that type of universities, seeing the writing on the wall, and they're forced to do something different. So again, UE, they have way too much staff. The student population going down, and the cost of running that new bloated university that was bloated because of the increased demand caused by Gate is there. So that is another one that I'm keeping an eye on, and I want to see where that goes. I think the government will find as much ways as they could to prop up the university because it's an institution, you know, they're too big to fail thing. UE might want to be one of them places that's too big to fail as well. But I was talking to somebody the other day who was reminding me that Antons is the new white dilemma and Mirage jewelry. So things has changed and institutions has changed. So let me see how that goes. But one of the ways that they could prop up the economy is by making the lotto $25 million. Let me see what's the new lotto jackpot here, boy. Because I'll leave it on that note. I want to go and play my little lotto. Let me see what this jackpot's saying here right now. I'm gonna go and play my little lotto and see if I could get a little slice of this. I'm feeling like now, if I get 4 numbers, how much I could be worth by 4 numbers? If the whole thing, they say the next estimated jackpot is 24 million. If I get 4 numbers out of that could be like a couple 100,000, like a 500,000, or 5 numbers is like 2-3 million or something. That's how it works. People have a running conspiracy theory that when the government need money, they just boost up the lotto, they just make sure nobody don't win. They just pass a heavy ball inside there with the ones that everybody play and make the ones that nobody play a set of light ball. And they make sure that nobody can win that. So that with $24 million being a jackpot, them probably collect about $2-3 billion in lotto spend, and they could put that towards maybe they will put that towards UE staff getting paid or whatever it is. Comcare pay this month, they will go towards that. But I thinking to myself that I trying to figure out how to go and play and win this lottery or lotto. And one man get a lotto. He get a lotto and end up getting charged. This is from The Guardian. They say man charged with $956,000 in larceny after the bank mistakenly put $32 million in his account. Now, my first thought is, why does this never happen to me? What's going on? How are I so sour? How the bank never make a mistake and credit me something sweet? You know what I mean? They credit me something nice. I want the bank give me this 32 million, I go and pay off my mortgage one time. I'll only charge me with larceny. But this is bank's fair money, A scaffolder has been charged with larceny of close to $1 million after a bank accidentally credited his account over $32 million. Joel Julian, name sounds familiar, has been charged with larceny by Corporal Cummings of the Fraud Squad and is expected to appear before a Port of Spain magistrate today. Police said that during a reconciliation exercise conducted by a financial institution, it was discovered that a system error All right. A system error resulted in $32 million being mistakenly credited to the man's personal account held at the institution. It's alleged that during the period November 18, 2022 and December 1st, 2022, the owner of the personal account withdrew sums totaling $825,000 in cash from various ABMs and conducted point-of-sale transactions worth $131,000. What they wanted the man to do. No, I ain't lying. He moved a little thirsty here. He take out. He went to, how much ATM you really went to, Mr. Julian, to take out $825,000 in cash from the November the 18th to the 1st of December? That is about what, 13 days? How much a bank card you had? Like, what's your daily limit? 825,000 divided by 13 is what is the daily limit on that account that you could take out so much of money in cash? And my next question too is, if you take out so much money in cash, you didn't have an exit strategy. You wasn't planning to ride out. Why you didn't just bust out? You could have tried and get out of this country and not bother with these people again. It's the efforts by financial institutions to get a full refund of the money proved futile, and a report was made to the fraud squad. Following investigations into the matter, fraud squad officers under the supervision of Senior Superintendent Aled Groom conducted an exercise in which he arrested. I find it should not arrest me neither. Let me say this is not my money, and you guys struggling to get it back. I find that is your problem, you know. You credit my money, you put a lot of money in my account. I can tell you that I would have been gone. You'd have to arrest me in. Let me tell you which party had to arrest me in. Switzerland, Monaco. I might just say Antigua too, but that's too close. I want to go far. And I want to go place where no extradition law at all and no set of banking question like source of funds and them kind of thing. He said a total of $600,000 in cash was allegedly recovered at his home. I ain't like this story. You know, this story bothered me. Let me see what date it is they charge this man and arrest him, boy. Number one, talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. If it is you make this mistake and I spend out $1 million, talk to me. Don't show up by me with no police and all this other thing. And now I lock up and I had to answer for charges. And even if I had to answer for charges, like take my lawyer money out of some of that money while you do. Or settle with me, do something for me. Even if I would have think that if you're, I could tell you, like in work by us, we have mistakenly credited people account before. Now, unfortunately, I don't have $32 million worth of mistakes to make, or $32 million to make a mistake with. But you know, sometimes they have errors, right? They have errors. Sometimes a salary going to a wrong account. A man get paid more than he was supposed. And at that point, you sit down and you talk to the person and you say, well, first, I will back all the money. I call and say, listen, we credit your account and I roll you back the money. I can tell you that most people go say, boy, you're saying, and this happened, and and they want a little time to pay it. I say, all right, so they will come out to your next 3 salary, and at least I know I get back the money, right? Now, I doubt in the 800 and something thousand could come out of the next 3. I don't know how much scaffold you have to rent. That scaffold had to take you straight to heaven if it could pay back $825,000 or anywhere near $32 million. But I find this is bad, man. I find all the bank's so wicked. When the bank employees, I remember back in the day when bank employees rob somebody or take money from their account or do some kind of fraud within the bank, they used to fire that person quiet. They never used to go and make that no public incident, because them days the thought process was, if I make this a public spectacle, people, it will cause a run on the bank. People will start to say, boy, listen, my money is safe, and everybody will go and ask back for their money. And now, all they make a mistake, put money in the man account, the man gone with the money, or some of the money, and all they make it into a thing where this man had to get locked up for doing this. And his name had to get plastered all over the papers. So everybody gonna know now Joel Julian, the scaffold man, is a scamp. I find only vilify the man. I don't like this. I feel we had to get good lawyers here who could fight this thing properly and make sure that one of these banks start paying for their mistakes. One thing, the bank designed in a way, the bank can't lose at all. I mean, unless you name Silicon Valley Bank or one of these fellas in these states, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the bank really designed a kind of way, boy, because you put a 32 in my account, $32 million, You're supposed to just say, boy, Hold that late something for yourself, boy. Thank God you was able to think. Thank God you didn't spend all, you know what I mean? Or even come and ask me nice. Talk to me sweet and say, boy, listen, how much of it you could pay back? And if I tell you, boy, here I have a 600 home here. Let we call that square. Let we call that square between me and you. You hold back a 600. I say, boy, here go and I run through I want something. And if you be in I run through I want something, boy. Sorry about that. But, and let me move on. But I want to salute Joel Julian. Salute Joel Julian for almost doing the right thing, right? But there's a problem in this life. You can't make everybody happy. So I'll leave in all you with the next one by the great Lord Commander. It say you can't finish please people.
Hey, I live in my own life to suit me. I ain't busy saying nobody. I live in my own life to suit me. I ain't busy saying nobody. If you do good, they got something to say. I want your body talk to the same way. Black and white, everybody does talk each other. I'll even go so far to include the commander. But that don't worry me, for anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if it's true, they know your business better than you. And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why, you see, you're going to live me on life to suit me. Man, to hell with everybody. And when a man can't get work, they say how he lazy. When you're working plenty, they call it you slavery. If you can't change your clothes, they say how you're nasty. When you're dressing plenty, they say you never see come see. If you have a little raise, they say you're playing big papi. And then if you're poor, they just call you hungry. They will bat up from the sovereign lady down to the dead people inside the cemetery. But that don't worry me, boy. Anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if lie or it's true, they know your business better than you. You can't talk me, man. And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why, you see, you're going to live me on life to suit me. Man, to hell with everybody. If a man beat your wife, they say how he wicked. And if your wife just beat him, they say she have him stupid. Worse when he speak to her, she doesn't answer him rude. And your little boy, they say eating bad food. If your son don't resemble you, they say not your child. Your madam could be an angel, they go say she wild. And when a woman can't free, they call she a mule. And when she making children, they just say she playing the fool. But that don't worry me, for anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if it's lie or it's true, they know your business better than you. And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why, you see, you're going to live me on life to suit me. Man, to hell with everybody. When a man break one jail, they call you a vagabond. When you live in the sun, they say you're playing gentleman. If you like the church, they criticize the religion. When you like the courthouse, they say you are doing confusion. If you're young and very sickly, they say you're old and break down. And when you're old and moving quickly, they say you're playing young. You can't stop them from talking all how you try. They battle you before you born and after you die. But that don't worry me, for anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if lie or it's true, they know your business better than you.
Hey, all have a safe and productive week. All enjoy your week. We heading into the Easterese trend, going on vacation. Enjoy the last of the drop into school and thing. And listen, I select commander for this episode. I dedicating it and tribute to Cassius, right? Because we had a discussion earlier this week too. This is my gratitude for the sharing and so on that I don't like to do the podcast and Cassius being my for free PR manager, social media manager, and all these things. But we had a discussion earlier in the week there about Krokro packing too much lyrics into a song, right? So I decided to play today Lord Commander, who is the king of putting too much lyrics in a song and having too much lines, too much words in every single line, right? So that is why you get some Commander this week. Thank Cassius, right? But hey, have a productive week. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the last of these carrying turns. The school is Easter time. We're looking for flights, so anybody who's working United Airlines, just reach out to me. If you have a friend in United, we need a little United Airlines help to run a little quick racket here. Let me see how that works. But I will talk to you next week.